of other women through the network of NGOs and the Trinidad and Tobago Institute for Women in Leadership. And so I want to first thank IGDS and UE and everybody else who have thought through the processes that we've just gone through and found it relevant to bring all of us here together this evening to have some discussions about what just took place and how we're all feeling about it. I think we've heard network of NGOs and the Trinidad and Tobago Institute for Women in Leadership did, not just for the campaign, but leading into the campaign. Network, as you know, Hazel Brown and the network board, some of whom are here, many of you are friends of the network, has been doing work in this space for greater than 20 years. As a matter of fact, this year is the 30th anniversary of the network of NGOs. So yay! And so over the last 30 years, Network has been doing quite a bit of work. Since I think 1985 was when Network of NGOs put out its first manifesto, Women's Manifesto. It was one page. It was called 10 Points for Power, I believe. Anybody remembers that other than Hazel? Yes, very good, Rhoda, yes, very good. Very good. Okay, so thank you, I stand corrected. So Network and CAFRA and a lot of other women organizations put out 10 Points for Power. I have a little sample of what was put out in 2002, Women's Manifesto. Democracy is not enough. We want gender justice. And then moving forward to 2015, we put out this manifesto, 2015 Manifesto, A Mandate for Action. Again, this was not done by a network of NGO by itself, and I thank you again, Rhoda, for pointing that out. So before I jump ahead, let me go through what I'm supposed to talk about today. What was done prior to the campaign is we did a lot of training. We started through the very generous grant or fund through the UN. We were able to put together some training which was offered to women in Trinidad and Tobago for the past 2.5 years. It was prior to the 2013 local government elections, and it continued in 2014, even after the elections. So we identified candidates, we worked with all parties, all political parties, asking them to identify women who would be interested in participating, but not just identify them, but support them as they took the training, and if they did get nominated to be candidates, and if they did get elected as officials, then provide a continued support for them. We facilitated forums and symposiums and opportunities for women to get together and continue to have this kind of dialogue, particularly to understand what women's issues were and how those issues should be addressed in the election process. But more importantly, once the election is over, what happens then? As Khadijah pointed out, it's more than just a woman getting elected. It's providing that support after she's elected. It's providing her the tools that she would need to do a good job once she's elected. So those are the kinds of things that Network of NGOs have continued to try to do. The manifesto that I just held up was created by a cross-section of women of Trinidad and Tobago. All parties were represented, and Khadijah was there for some of the meetings. We had women from all the political parties, and the purpose was, again, to find issues that are relevant to women. It was not about what party you belong to and what the manifesto will represent, what your party stood for. It represented, hopefully, what all women in Trinidad and Tobago would want to see represented by their candidates. Two parts of and I just pointed out two, but maybe it's more, chapters 2 and 5 of the manifesto speaks to gender specifically. And while I agree with Jowelle, I actually asked the question myself as I was following Joelle's campaign. I was struck by the fact that Jowelle never represented herself as a transgender candidate. She was just a candidate, which I applauded. I think that is the right way to be. I hope one day women would not have to say, I'm the woman's candidate. I hope we get to the point where we're all just candidates and we're all just trying to work together to move our country forward. So I applaud you for that, Jowelle. As a matter of fact, I was in Washington a couple of weeks ago and was talking to some people about Jowelle's candidacy. And they're like, well, we didn't hear about it. I said, there's a reason for that, because she didn't, we were talking about Kate. Anybody know who Kate is? Kate Jenner, right? Yes. So we're talking about Kate, and so I made the reference to Jowelle, and that's the kind of thing that network of NGOs really supported. So going forward, like I said, we brought women together. We created this beautiful manifesto, edited the manifesto, printed it, made sure it was distributed to all the women candidates. 2 more minutes, thank you. We invited women to a candidates breakfast, again, cross-party, where we distributed the manifesto to all of the women with the hopes of that they will take it back to their respective parties and do something constructive with it, as their women candidates were preparing to go into to campaign. And again, not just campaign on the issues, but do something about it once you get in office. Campaign finance. Another thing that the network of NGOs did through TTIWiL was to raise funds through contributions and other ways, that we then distributed to many of the women candidates who participated in the elections. And when I say many, there was a process, right? You had to qualify. We had a requirement. So you would have had to have participated in some of Network's events in order to qualify to receive the contributions. But again, this is the type of work that we continue to do in the hopes of one day we will not have to make special funds for women. There will be enough campaign finance for everyone legally, so that so everybody could run for office, get the issues out there. As a matter of fact, the elections shouldn't even be that expensive, where you'd have to have this big war chest in order to run for an election, right? It shouldn't be that way. But until we get there, network of NGOs through TTIWiL and other organizations are trying to put those processes in place to let women know that you're not in this alone. I want to quickly talk about some successes, and Nafeesa touched on one that I wanted to point it out, and she said 8 women in cabinet, which is, I think, another good milestone. It's actually, I like to call it 9, because there is a woman in the office of the Prime Minister, and even though she's not in cabinet, I think she's in cabinet, so I refer to it as 9. So 9 out of 93 23 is a pretty good ratio to me. But again, I really look forward to the time when we don't have to look at those numbers, when we're just looking at qualified women running for office, getting elected, and then doing the job, because that's the piece that continued to be missed. Many of us, when we get elected, we fall right back into doing what the guys have been doing over the years. And we're not taking the nice learning that we have gotten we're not taking the women's agenda forward. And we need to talk about that. That's what this discussion should be about. How can we encourage, how can we continue to support women to take that agenda forward while they're sitting in office? Because the brothers alone, they can't do it. It's not because sometimes they don't want to, it's because they don't know any better. So you know better. Once you get there, you need to do better. So my key points that I want to leave you with this evening: provide support. We did not get enough support, and I think for women, and I think we need to. There's a lot of women in here, and I think this is awesome. I want to see all of you guys getting behind supporting the women who are in office. And how do you do that? It's not just by giving them money. It's not just by saying, good job, Khadijah. If Khadijah is doing something that is not in line with what she said she will do while she was running for office, then tell her that, because that's the only way she will know that she's getting off track and she needs to get back on track. Don't sit and talk about it. Do something about it. That's the support we're looking for. Cross-party collaboration. I think it's possible. Just like people say independents can't win. I don't believe that. I think independents can win. I think cross-party collaboration is possible. And I think if we all start saying and doing what we want, we will see a difference. And training. We don't have enough training. I know the political parties train their candidates for to toe the line, what you're supposed to do as a whatever party you represent when you're in office. But the training that we need is universal training. And I'm being told to leave. So I want to say, so I just want to end this by saying that I have been in this business for many years. I've worked with many political elections through observations in the United States. I'm very proud to be doing this work here in Trinidad because this is where I was born and raised, and I look forward to questions. Thank you.